Osiris.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Corner of Gray Street podcast. We are back. Nolan, Bruce, and friend of the pod, Alex Brandt, is joining us. He has been everywhere to see DMB this summer. You probably know him from the lots, from the shows, from his amazing TikToks and reels that have gone viral in the community. Alex, thanks for joining us.
It's nice to be here. Nice to talk some shop.
That's what we're all about. Welcome to the show, and thanks for buttering our bread and wearing that T-shirt. It's looking good
on you.
You know, when
I don't know what looks better, the hair or the shirt.
When you told me I was the first order on your new website, I thought I gotta wear that shirt when I'm talking to them.
Oh yes, love it.
Yeah, it was like 2 minutes in. This guy right here he was on it.
I was
His
just
finger
sitting
was
there.
right there.
That's right. I clicked that link so fast you'd think it was an on sale.
That's right.
I think I remember a couple of years ago you were like, "Hey, when are you guys going to put out some merch?" And we were like, "We're working on it," and we found a better way to do it. And yeah, appreciate you.
I'll always. I was jealous of just that first batch of T-shirts that you all did, and when I dug into, I think it was like maybe your Etsy store, and there was nothing there, and I thought, well, I missed that drop. Maybe I'll catch the next one.
Oh,
super
man,
exclusive.
I forgot about the Etsy store.
It's basically, oh man, that was, when was that? That was years ago. Great shout out. Great throwback there. We've got so much good stuff. We've been missing for a while, but we've just been busy, life, and Alex has been very busy. We've been trying to get him on. He's been everywhere. He's had his vocal cords shredded a la Dave Matthews, Utah Gorge 20, I don't remember what year, but having to reschedule shows. Well, we reschedule episodes, but we come back and we're better than ever, and we're ready to kick this episode off with some goose talk. Nolan, I'm going to toss it over to you, and we're going to relive, we're going to let Nolan talk a little bit about his most recent goose experience, which was now like a month ago.
Yes. And I know everyone was wanting to hear us talk about goose tonight. So you're welcome. Yes, I saw Goose in Charlotte. I made the trek down. Goose at Skyla Amphitheater. Wonderful venue. Small venue. I think I like it better than Red Hat in Raleigh. But a nice, it's like set into a bunch of old warehouses. It was easy getting in and out of. There's a huge like bar right next to it where everyone was pre-aiming. And it was awesome. It's also like the Fillmore in Charlotte where they played the last time they were in Charlotte was also like right there. It's like all in the same spot. So that was cool. Solid show. I don't think Goose really plays bad ones. Check out the Yeti, Madhavan, and Arcadia from this show in particular. Those were great. If you don't like Yeti, I'm sorry, but this one's a good one. I think we'll bring up Goose a little bit later in the podcast too. Maybe we'll end the episode talking about Goose as well. But yeah, that was my
ending with Goose.
Yeah, second time seeing Goose this year. I've now seen Goose more times than DMB this year, which is the same thing that happened last year. And we'll see if that continues. We'll see. All right. We're going to jump into Alpine, night one. Alex, you were there. You're our boots on the ground for these episodes. Is Alpine your favorite venue?
Yeah, Alpine is where I cut my teeth going to shows. And, I'm originally from Des Moines, Iowa. And so tour after
Mm.
tour, Alpine was always the closest venue that you could hop in the car and drive to. And from Des Moines, it's about a 5, maybe a 5.5 hour drive. I might have that wrong, but it was the closest spot. And you would talk with your buddies and get in the car and all cram into a hotel room. It's just where I really got to know the band and got to know kind of what the community was about. And I'll just always be grateful for that space. I am often saying it's one of my favorite places like in the world just because of all of those kind of core memories that are at Alpine.
Excellent.
Love that. I'm jealous though because we've never been to Alpine. We always hear about how cool it is, how just everyone loves it. Obviously, we love Wisconsin. Shout out to the Green Bay Packers,
Nice.
and it's just somewhere that we've never been. And for people that haven't been, sometimes you're kind of like, what's the big deal? It's a
Mm.
massive, or you're out in the middle of nowhere, kind of massive venue, and you don't really get it. I feel like now in the age of many more, whether you want to call them influencers or whatever in the DMB community that are putting out content consistently, where you're almost tracking every move that they make. They show you, they bring you inside of these venues or the tailgates or the reasons that these places are cool. So that was cool to see. I know you took some really sweet pictures and videos and stuff, and several others as well. And it was like, man, the undulation there is crazy. So it looked really cool. And in honor of your favorite venue being Alpine, our favorite venue, or one of, is the Gorge. And I have a Gorge inspired beer called You Might Die Trying IPA that I'm going to crack open real quick. Shout out to Southern Swells Brewing here in Jacksonville. Yeah, I'm going to drink that for the episode. But a little counter to your Alpine, we have to start this show with some venue wars.
Venue war.
I was ready for this.
All right. Well, let's get a little bit more background. I want to know about you as a fan because, I mean, we've known each other uh, through the DMB community and the socials for a while, but how and when did you become a fan?
Yeah, you might not remember this. I ran past you guys at the Raleigh show in 21 while you were in the beer line, and I was like, "Hey, Grace Street Podcast." And so I know we haven't really hung out in person yet, but it was cool
Oh,
to see
that's
you all for
right.
that split second on
Yes.
the epic third verse Gray Street show, return from quarantine and all that. But anyway,
Yes.
back to me. I really started getting into the band when I was in college. My first show was in 2009 at Principal Park in Des Moines, Iowa. I never really thought that traveling for shows was something that people did. It was just kind of a foreign concept to me. And so in Des Moines, you waited until the band came to you. And when I say the band, I mean any band. And DMB had not played in the state for probably, I don't know, probably about 4 years, but it was up in Ames, Iowa at that time. I didn't travel up to that destination. The last time they were in Des Moines was actually, I think, a Dave and Tim show in 1999. So it had been a solid 10 years
Oh,
since any iteration of DMB had been in the city. And with it being a baseball field, it was definitely intriguing to get out to the AAA ball stadium and check out the band. And I just texted a friend. I said, "Hey, do you have an extra ticket to see Dave Matthews Band?" And he said he did. And it's kind of just crazy to look back on, kind of a meant to be thing, but it was a field ticket. I paid him for it. We drove down from the university I was at and went to the show. And I just remember getting home from it, 3 hours of music, no intermission. And it was the greatest live experience I could ever imagine having. I remember Stefan on anyone seen the bridge, like walking across. And I wasn't that familiar with the catalog, to be honest, at that show. So I was just kind of enamored by this bass player who's just working the stage and make his way across. I'm like, oh, this is his time to shine. And they played Crush, they played Crash. They actually had a pretty good encore with like a rare Blue Water. And so looking back at that show, there's a lot to kind of hold on to. But I just had this amazing first experience. And the following summer, 2010, that same guy that had that extra ticket, he said, "Hey, we're going up to Alpine Valley if you want to come. It's 2 shows. We'll get some lawn tickets. They're $40 each." And I was like, "Say less." Walked down to the ATM walked down to the ATM in the Union, and took out $80 and paid them right there, and we hit the road, that July, and the rest is now like just Alex Brandt lore. Because later that year, I went to Wrigley by myself, and I waited out and got on the rail at Wrigley Field night 2, and every year
Wow.
since then, it's just been pedal to the metal.
I love it. I
2010.
love
I
it.
remember those Alpine with Zach Brown was opening that
Yeah,
those shows. That was like July 4th.
Mm.
that's right. It was the 4th of July weekend, so I'm
It was
definitely a.
right after. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm definitely a product of like the big whiskey era of the band, and
Mm.
I just remember getting Red Rocks '95 for the first time and listening to it all summer long, getting ready to go to Alpine because I didn't want to be a noob, So I spent as much time as I could studying the sets and how often has a song been played, what do the fans consider to be rare. Just really put myself through the school of hard knocks of DMB that summer, and by the time Alpine rolled around, I was ready to go. And then again, I was railed at Wrigley Field by September.
I love it. Well, I'm looking at your first show right now, and kudos to you for sticking around after seeing seven Funny the Way It Is and Shake Me Like a Monkey all in a row.
Yeah,
Um,
you
yeah.
got to realize that Big Whiskey was because it was the new album. I was wanting those songs all day. It was
I know.
Big Whiskey and Fenway Park were like the 2 shows or the 2 albums I was really diving in
Yeah.
diving into at that time.
Well, Crash Into Me segue into Crush and a little Alligator Pie rarity, Rhyme and
Hmm.
Reason. Okay, pretty good
Something
stuff. Encore,
no one really
Maker.
no one really talks about it, but there's that "I Got a Woman" with Rashawn on vocals, and if
Mhm.
you've never listened to it, it's worth checking out.
Randolph guessing. That's cool.
Yeah.
First show. That's
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I mean, pretty cool. Pretty cool. I
Good
love the
first show.
Alpine 2010. Yeah, it's interesting. Really good encore, like he said.
Yeah.
And then the Alpine shows I remember following very closely because I'd just seen the 2 shows in Camden like right before that, and then they went right to Alpine, and I remember just being like, oh shit, like some cool stuff there. We got cool stuff in Camden too, I guess, but I just remember that was one of the first years understanding some of the bigness of some of those big venues. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't have it pulled up, but I think "Say Goodbye" was a tour debut at Alpine in 2010, and I remember that "I'll Back You Up" from night 2 just being that one of those moments where
Mm.
you were at the front of the lawn and "I'll Back You Up" starts, and I knew everything about the catalog at that point, so I was like, "Oh, this is a moment. I'm right where I need to be right now. We're getting "I'll Back You Up," and it's only my 3rd show.
I
Yeah, that's pretty
love
good.
it.
I think I've only seen it once still after all these years.
Mhm.
Um, how many shows have you seen at Alpine now after, these 2?
That's a good question. I missed 2015 because I had just moved down to Nashville at that time, um, and they played in Des Moines that year too, so it was more important to get back home than it was to go to the big destination. But I would say I've seen probably 2, 4, probably around 12 shows at Alpine now. I think I've been there 6 years total.
Okay.
I love that. I'm jealous. I'm super jealous. We need to. We'll get up there. One year, we'll get up there. And Jordan Love will join us. It will be awesome. So I think, unless Nolan, you have anything else, I think it's time to jump in to this night 1 because
Oh, let's
I'm
do
really
it.
intrigued. I want to hear just everything about like this whole Alpine experience here with Alex. So set the scene for us. You're getting there for night 1. You're getting ready to roll. What are the vibes like? What's it like tailgating there at Alpine? Do y'all camp? Is there a hotel situation? What we got?
Yeah, so the last few Alpine trips we've done Airbnbs just a little bit closer to Milwaukee, and somebody's just the driver that, drives us into the lot and drives us back. I think there are some campsites around. I know that I think Live Nation allowed camping this year, which is kind of uncommon. But mostly I'd say everybody just gets some hotels around the resort, maybe a little bit closer to Milwaukee like we do. But, Alpine is a massive venue. It's like 37,000 cap. And when you pull up to those parking lots, it's really two or three just giant parking lots, big fields, no concrete. And you really do just get a sense of the vastness of what that venue is. And, just speaking as a Midwest fan, it is our mecca, and everybody from that area of the country is always talking up Alpine. I think that the fact that it's now every other year is only kind of enhancing what Alpine means to people, because when you get a chance to go, it's special. It's really just a two-lane road that you take into the venue, and they'll have the Live Nation staff just along the, kind of guiding your cars in. Everyone's caravanning through, and there's just something in the air. You'll probably hear me say that a little bit throughout the podcast, but there's just something in the air when you pull up to Alpine Valley that you just can't really recreate. And it all stems from the fact that I think everyone that goes really appreciates the space. And I think I looked at their calendar, they're only doing like 10 shows this year. So
It's crazy.
if you are just a live music fan, Alpine is one of those venues that you have to seek out, and you have to jump on an opportunity to go see a show there, really, regardless of who it is. Anyway, so the nice thing about Alpine versus other venues is that the lots open up at 1 o'clock. You can pay $20 to park in advance, and there'll be early merch open around that time. So anyone that wants the poster can get it early. If you want to get started with your tailgate early, you can. I think it's worth paying the $20 to get in there and get started. But if you don't want to pay $20, it opens at 3. And even opening at 3 o'clock, that is one of the earlier gate times compared to a lot of other venues. And tailgating is encouraged. So it's just row after row after row after row of cars with people with tailgate canopies and playing lawn games. It's it's Wisconsin too. People take their tailgating pretty seriously up in Wisconsin, so it's a good time. You also get some of that Chicago crowd too, and those people like to party as well.
Wow. Great people up there in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
They're used to just winning, and the Chicago crowd really is not. So sucks for them. But
Yeah.
no, I'm glad everyone can get in there early and tailgate. That's pretty cool. I wish more venues encouraged the tailgate scene like that. You never really know, I feel like, what kind of scene you're going to run into or where you're going to park. At least around here, you get put in all kinds of different places. And it just depends on which parking person you get near you that
Yeah.
day.
It hurts. Like, I've been to some venues where you can't get in and start tailgating until almost 4:30, and by the time you pull
Mhm.
up, it's like almost time to get in line and get ready for doors to
Yeah.
open. So it's, again, with that being the place that I really got started with, not just DMB but even like attending shows in general, I was real spoiled with that whole scene. Just walking around those parking lots, it's unlike anything you'll experience. And it definitely, it just feels like the history of Alpine Valley lives on through the tailgate. And it's an old venue that has seen a lot of shows, and it has a lot of history in those hills. So it's just nice to get back there where you can feel the history and catch up with friends. I mean, even friends of mine that don't travel all over to see the band, just being from the area, they still go up to Alpine. So I get to catch up with a lot of people doing that. And it's just definitely a special place. And that's just the parking lot.
Yeah,
Nice.
we got to get inside the venue here. We got to start. I think Dave's walking out soon. Okay, cool. So it was Friday night concert series show, obviously. So we get that, going in. So you're going to typically get some stuff that may be a little atypical, or mixing things around, whether it be tour debuts or songs in different slots. So you're going to get something, plus it's Alpine, so we're going to get some cool stuff. Lots of great tour debuts, especially littering the end of this set that we'll talk about later. So night one, obviously energy probably very high, right? Where were you in the venue? And then tell us about, kind of leading into the show, and we'll get right into the music just a moment.
Yeah, we went in early with warehouse entrance, and we were on the lawn, but upgraded to what they call the expo deck. It's just like a little party deck. It's house left, stage right. If you were standing on stage, and it's just a little deck with a bar and a porta potty. But we wanted to kind of keep our group together and not have to fight for some lawn space. So we got in, got the poster, figured out where the deck was, and that's where we watched the show. As far as the views go, I mean, it's a great spot. I think it cost us $50 a person to sit up there, and I don't know. I'd never done it before. Usually, I'm down in the pit or in the pavilion, but we just wanted to hang back a little bit more and kind of take in the venue for what it is. So, Expo Deck Night One, sound is great there. You're honestly about 25, maybe 30% up on the lawn, so you've got a pretty good spot that kind of just is above where everybody else is sitting and standing. So, good vantage point. And Alpine, you've got some stacks on each one of those three shells, so I felt that the sound was pretty solid from that point. Expo deck review, I wouldn't do it every time, but there was definitely like a time and a place. If you've got a big group and you're going to go in early, that's a really easy way to kind of rally your troops and keep them in there. My friend Eric, he did it for Fish. That would have been Fish in 2022, and he just thought really highly of it. So we tried it for DMB, and I had a good time.
Yeah, Betty enjoyed that Ruby Waves
and the fluff head.
Exactly.
Totally. Yeah.
I think that was the last time Fish was at Alpine, when they did the nasty long Ruby Waves, but I could be wrong. So Ryan Storm will call me out. Nolan, you want to run through the set before we get Alex's thoughts on the actual music, the stuff that people came to chew on?
I'd love to. Yes. Pantalanaga Pampa opener into Boa. Granny, Squirm, Walk Around the Moon, Recently, Rapunzel, Don't Drink the Water, Stolen Away on 55th and 3rd, Sam Cop, Line Our Graves, Looking for a Vein, Madman's Eyes Fake into Minarets, Triplet, So Much to Say, Bridge, Too Much, Spaceman, Cornbread, Bayou, Encore, Sister, The Last Stop. So things got started off pretty nice here. I think I saw you post something, maybe it was a video of PNP into Boa, where you said my favorite song at my favorite venue. So is that confirmation? Boa is your favorite DMB song?
Yeah, that's right. Listening to Red Rocks 95, the first time I heard That's What's Around was actually on that album, and something about it just clicked. I remember thinking, like, that is my favorite song, and it's still my favorite song. I've been lucky enough to hear it almost every year, at least once, since I've been going to shows. So to catch it here at Alpine was just like checking that box for the summer for me. It's a tour debut, so just it's a little bit elevated when it's a tour debut. That surprise factor is there. But back to Pontala, I mean, opening up with Pontala is fantastic. That song is the song of the summer. You just don't know what it's gonna segue into, and I think I personally thought it was probably going to be Pig again, but getting it into what is my favorite song was a huge surprise. Great way to kick off the Alpine experience in the venue, and I don't know, the band kind of kept the ball rolling right after that one, but huge surprise, and I could not have been happier hearing Busted What's Around pretty much open up the show right after that Pontala hit.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
He was like, I'm done. I'm ready to go home.
Yeah.
That was
that's
worth the price.
That's all I needed.
Worth the price of admission, as they say.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, really, really solid. They've been kicking off shows very well recently, and this is obviously with there's no exception here. You get a Recently and then
Mm,
Rapunzel back to back, which is, early Rapunzel after the kind of Pantala fake stuff there.
very
Um,
cool.
yeah, Recently's this year have been really really good. But when you
Mm.
get into kind of that run, the Recently Rapunzel, Don't Drink, then bring it back down, Stolen Away, Sam Cop, and then Graves. What do you remember kind of maybe from that run? What were some of the potential highlights there?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of looking at the set, that Recently is really strong. I know the band was kind of playing it. I think it was almost back to back shows at that point, so it felt really well rehearsed in the sense that they just been playing it back to back to back shows. So really strong there. Yeah, an early Rapunzel, which there has not been. There's been less shows with a Pantala and then a Rapunzel later than you'd think. So it was nice to kind of get a Rapunzel in there. I'd like to have both songs in the set if I had to choose. So it was good to see that. Don't Drink the Water's been kind of underplayed at that point in the tour. So that was one that, early on in my fandom, I really latched onto. So I'll always be happy with the Don't Drink the Water, really consistent there. And then Lie on Our Graves, fun friend of mine that I was standing next to, that's his favorite song. So we were just getting, the whole crew was getting their favorite songs at Alpine Night One. So right after that point was definitely a highlight. And I like Looking for a Vein. I'll take it, not at every show, but just with us still kind of touring the new album a little bit. You're probably going to hear it a couple times a year, and I'm good with it. And then Madman's Fake. We were talking at that point whether or not someone was going to run and take a bathroom break, and they didn't. They made the right choice, sticking around for that Minarets because it's a solid Minarets too.
Yeah, and
Oh,
the
yeah.
the Vane second time ever on the electric guitar, which was
Oh
cool.
yeah,
Um, he with Dave switching it back up more to the album version, which is awesome.
Yes, and then wasn't this where I think it was maybe during Looking for a Vein, the video circulating of a cicada on Dave's mic? Um, I don't know, I think the cicadas that's around the area, right, in the Midwest that were just, like,
yeah.
going crazy a month ago.
That's not really been a part of the Alpine experience until this year. But yeah, the
Mm.
cicadas were out. I didn't actually have that bad of a time with them, but yeah, there was that video of the cicada just sitting on Dave's mic and Dave handling it like a total pro that he is. And yeah, I think that
Unfazed.
yeah, unfazed. I think that was during Looking for a Bane too. We were too far away to like notice it in real time, but that video is something else.
I think I saw it and I was like I think I texted to Bruce, I was like, "Uh, I didn't know he played electric on Looking for a Vein now." I was like, "That is I don't care about the cicada, look at the guitar."
As long as he didn't, suck it down his throat and just be
Yeah.
out for a couple weeks, and everyone was good. Great run, kind of to lead into the end of the show with that Madman's Fake Minarets,
Mm.
triplets there, so much bridge, too much, and then you get the totally 2009 run. Maybe this was for you, Alex.
Could
Spaceman,
be.
Mm.
Cornbread, and Bayou, with Cornbread and Bayou being tour debuts, which was
Mm.
interesting. Obviously, vibes were probably pretty high leading up to that. I'm sure y'all were feeling good. You've got two of the favorite songs in the group. How about the Spaceman, Space Bread Bayou closing here?
Yeah, we weren't too big of fans of the whole thing. It's funny to hear the term. It's funny to hear the term "space bread" thrown around again because I couldn't tell you the last time that those two songs got played back to back. But if you look at some of those winter like 2012 set lists, I think there was a lot of space bread during
Mm.
that winter tour. I like cornbread. Okay, I like it more
Yeah.
than I think most people do. And then Bayou as a
Same.
tour debut was just kind of, I thought it was just kind of comedic, if you will. Um, I don't think anybody wants to catch the tour debut of Bayou, but somebody's got to get it.
It's
That's
okay.
yeah. That's a Cornbread Bayou back to back there is interesting. I think that was clearly a, Friday Night Concert series kind of, debut. Dave doing something different there, and then I mean, if
First
you
space
weren't
spread
happy
in
with
9 years, Nolan. By the way,
Wow.
just looked it up. First
is that
space spread,
right?
9 years. Yeah, 15.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Wow. Okay.
That's crazy.
That's
Sorry, pardon
wild.
me.
I'm glad you pulled that
Um,
up.
yeah. Sheesh. Well, how many times have Spaceman Cornbread Bayou and Sister been played in a row? Because
Oh,
if
all
you
5.
weren't happy with that run, then you got Sister tour debut. So obviously that was great.
Yeah, and just kind of speaking from the group that I was with, those guys hadn't been to a show since Chicago uh, last year, so 2023. And Sister was actually the E1 of Northerly Island night 2, so they were
Oh.
thrilled to catch that song again. And when there's been some solid songs in rotation for that E1 slot, we had some guys who really wanted to
Mm,
hear that cover of Just Breathe, and yeah, to get that
yeah.
E1 repeat from the show you were at last year was just kind of a downer, but I'm usually pretty positive. That was just kind of how we were feeling in the moment. Once we
Yeah.
get through Sister and Dave kind of gets his speech, you launch into Last Stop, and that kind of cured everything that we were thinking. It really was the highlight of the show was catching Last Stop. Most of the group hadn't heard it since 2016, and obviously you get that
Mm,
outro too, which they kind of slow things down and really extend that ending piece. So I was thrilled with Last Stop. The whole group was thrilled with Last Stop. It had us leaving Alpine night 1 with high spirits into night 2, and we can talk about that next. But yeah, great way to end the show. Just kind of a funky run at the end there. But tour debuts are always nice. It just was kind of how we were feeling at that moment.
Absolutely. I mean, anytime you get Last Stop, amazing. All of the Last Stops, for the most part, have been very, very good. I feel like they continuously are getting better, which will lead to a question down the road for you. Quick, before we get into night 2, Spaceman, Cornbread, and Bayou have been played back to back twice ever. One on July 24th, 2009. Again, obviously 2009. And then this Alpine night 1. And then if you add Sister in there at the end, that has never been done. So the first time ever, congratulations,
wow.
Alpiners. You got the first ever Space Bread Bayou Sister run. And truly, truly epic. Okay,
Historic.
That's all I was gonna say. Historic.
good. I mean, really solid night 1. I think people were
Yeah.
likely, I can speak for those at home, very excited about night 2 to see what was coming. I can only imagine for you guys, leading into night 2, what the whether you have expectations or wishful thinking, whatever it may be. So lead us in, obviously to that day, night 2, the infamous day, and we'll let you roll, man, because we don't have to set anything up. I think everyone knows that this show didn't happen. So tell us all about it.
Yeah, we were monitoring the weather all morning and decided to opt out of tailgating and come in a little bit later, just because once you lose service, there's not a lot you can do. So we waited to get into the venue probably around really into the parking lots, probably around like 4:30. We pulled in, had a couple drinks around the car, and then got into the warehouse line again because the poster for that night too was something that everybody was talking about. It was the green Dan Mumford with the hot air balloons and the venue in the background. So definitely something a lot of people were eager to seek out. I know I was one of those people loving the venue. Getting a print that has the venue on it was something that I was, all in on. And so we go in at doors and pick up the poster. Spent some time just hanging out at that expo barn, and lo and behold, after about an hour, they make an announcement over the speakers that anybody who is in the lawn needs to make their way back to their cars. And they may have actually asked that everybody clear the venue, not just the lawn. So if you were in the venue, you were headed back to your cars. I heard just from stories from the pit that people didn't want to leave their spots. I understand. So a lot of folks stayed in the venue as long as they could. My personal story is that we booked it just to the car to meet up with the whole group because we were kind of separated at that point. And got to the car, tuned into the radio station that Alpine staff like want you to tune into for information, it's kind of a joke just because it tells you what to do, but it's on a loop. So once you tune in and you've heard the whole message, there's nothing new to listen to. Our group opted to listen to AM radio, and that was actually giving us like real time news to the car, kind of telling us what was going on around Alpine. And we heard that there were, tornadoes on the ground, and we're Iowans, so we wait until we're 100% sure that we're actually in trouble before we need to feel like we need to move or take shelter. And we heard that there was one that had touched down, I think to the west of Elkhorn. And at that moment, we had some good info that the skies were fairly clear to Milwaukee, closer to where we were staying. So we just hustled out of the venue, probably after sitting in our cars for maybe 30, 40 minutes. And it was by the time we hit the interstate, the show had been announced as postponed with no new date announced, which, in industry talk, you're always going to try to get your show moved just to the next day if you can, because all the gear's loaded in, everything's set up for you, and you just you don't want to worry about a full loadout only to have to load everything back in. It's like you want the show to happen so you don't have to refund everybody's money either. But obviously that announcement didn't come till the next day. So personal story, we hustled out of there, got cell service back, saw the show was canceled. And by the time we got back to the Airbnb, we were, safe, eating pizza, drinking some beers, and just kind of keeping an eye on socials for everybody that was still in the parking lot. I feel really lucky for what we experienced. Some folks I know hunkered down in bathrooms as that storm rolled through. It was pretty nasty from what I saw, and definitely put a damper on, I think, on that Alpine experience that I keep talking about, because there were a lot of first timers going to Alpine this year, and knowing that they only got half a show, or half a weekend, and then had to roll out the next day was kind of pretty sad. Um, anyway, that was kind of my experience of the whole thing, and I'm glad that I got to go back. We'll talk about that down the road, but it was a tough day for a lot of people, and the storms were no joke. I saw a lot of campsites were really torn up by the winds, and it wasn't hit by a tornado per se, but there were definitely some high winds and some heavy rains that really ripped through that zone. So tough day for everybody that was there.
Jeez. Well, glad you're okay. Glad everyone is okay who was there. That's got to be, I mean, it's not the easiest place to get to, especially as a destination if you're not from around there. So I'm sure people were very concerned about making it back for the next night two attempt. And Alex, we were just talking about this before we got on, but it happened again this weekend with Noah Khan,
That's
and
right.
people were, I think it's safe to say, outraged that the show got postponed and rescheduled. Like, unlike the DMB fans who are like, "Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for keeping us safe." People were like, "I need stick season now."
Yeah, I feel
Weird.
bad for, just the younger demographic that happened to be at Alpine on this past Saturday, also getting rained out. At least DMB fans, I think most of us know life without cell phones a little bit, whereas that Noah Khan fan base was probably very, very upset they had no service, let alone no way to really get information as their storm was coming through. I don't think the Noah Khan
Yeah.
storm was as bad as the DMB storm, so +1 for us. But yeah, Alpine Valley just getting wrecked right now. I feel really bad for everyone that has to operate that venue and make decisions for that venue, because again, 10 shows a year and two of them are now rain out postponement. That's just a bad recipe.
Yeah, I'm hoping they
Yeah, it's tough.
can continue to stay kind of afloat over the next several years. I know that has been a struggle up there before.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Doors being threatened to be closed and shuttered up there. So we hope obviously none of that happens. Um, but
definitely.
obviously, like Nolan said, we are really glad that seemingly everyone was safe after all that. It seemed to look very, very scary. And yeah, anytime getting caught in scary weather like that is, it's no, like you said, it's no joke, and it's no fun. But we do need to get back to the fun and to some of the good stuff. Now, did you go over to Blossom as well?
No, I did not go to Blossom. I missed Blossom and Pine Knob.
Oh, boo! That's so lame, dude.
Just not dedicated. Unreal. Delete your account.
Midweek shows I can't
Okay.
do. I'm a weekend warrior.
Heard that, brother.
Yes.
Um, but these shows pretty good. And we can go through these as just complete noobs who didn't travel and go see these shows, and we shouldn't have a podcast. But they started Blossom, one of my favorite venues. I love this place with Billy's opener, unreal. When the World Ends, of course. Recently, Old Dirt Hill added in Pantala Nagapampa into song that Jane likes. Satellite tour debut. Wow, only 15 shows or so into the tour. Here comes Satellite, which is wild. Spoon, You Might Die Trying. Stolen Away, Crash, Jimmy Thing, Madman's, Typical, Bayou, Black and Bluebird, Monsters, Everyday and the Ants, because that's the 2024 pairing. And then Baby Blue tour debut with The Last Stop right there. I mean, pretty damn good show. I'm kind of jealous. I would have liked to have been there.
Yeah, it's a great show. I think it's interesting that there's
Yeah.
no segue after Pantala Nagapampa on that almanac page right now. So it means there would have been like a true pause before they kicked into a song that Jane likes. I think it's because Dave actually did the intro to it, but I think that's interesting.
Pregnant pause.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. That's like Pantala Nagapampa segued into Jane because that's what Dave did. He didn't play it to not segue or whatever into it. Rob and Dan, all
Come on,
those
Almanac.
guys. I mean, just unbelievable taking these liberties. Blossom also had a sick poster, and I think that Alex would have purchased the poster, and it would be on the wall right behind him. It was that cool.
Ugh. All-time Dreaming Tree vibes poster.
The rock, the rock faces, which are actually real in Cuyahoga or whatever.
Oh, cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, really, really cool. That was a great artistry there. And he's done several really good posters, or they've done. I'm trying to remember.
Year. He did the one in was it Dublin? Like the cathedral. That one was incredible.
The Dublin poster, one of the best of all time. A couple of the Dead Sphere things have been great. Now I'm blanking on the artist's name. One Drop Design Studio, I think, is it. Yeah, I can't remember the artist's actual name. But anyways, anybody have any thoughts on Blossom overall?
Yeah, I've got a bunch.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. One thing I did notice though is that is back-to-back show closers for Last Stop. And yes, I looked it up. Only the second time that has ever happened, and it happened in 2010, fall 2010, MSG, Sister Last Stop encore, and then the next show, a couple days later, Atlanta, Georgia, got a Needle and the Damage Done and Last Stop encore. So that's the only time in the band's history.
How about them apples? I like them apples. I like that a lot. Excellent. Well, we'll have to move a little bit north and west then and get up to Pine Knob really quickly. You know what? Alex, do you have this set pulled up?
Which one? Pine Knob?
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah, why don't you read it? You can take over, and then we'll talk slightly about Pine Knob, and then we'll get back to your expertise from Deer Creek.
All right. So we've got Pine Knob 2024. That's opening up with Pantala Nagapampa, segueing into Granny, followed by Pig, Walk Around the Moon, tour debut of JTR, 90 show gap on JTR. We then
Ooh.
get Virginia in the Rain, Don't Drink the Water, Lover Lay Down, Again and Again returning after an 11 show gap, Drunken Soldier, Crush, Digging a Ditch, Triplets, Let's Dance, So Damn Lucky, Break Free, What Would You Say, and then book ending the set with Rapunzel.
Mm.
Love that.
Encore, 2 cover songs, Just Breathe and All Along the Watchtower.
That's
Well
pretty
done.
solid. Yeah, good
You're a
reading,
you're a
and a little
natural.
bit of extra commentary in there as well, which is awesome. That the end was awesome. Break Free and What Would You Say, both with Valdez Brantley. That was the first guest of the tour, which is pretty cool. And he was really cool playing the keytar actually on What Would You Say, but the keyboards on Break Free. And so that was awesome. But it looks
That was
like that was
a unique sounding "What Would You Say?" I'm not sure I've
yeah.
heard one sound quite like that, and he crushed on "Break Free," but he was like I watched the YouTube videos just going ham on stage with the guitar. That is
Yeah, Page
awesome.
McConnell style.
Yeah, that's got to be a
Is that
first
right?
time,
Again,
right? First keytar on the DMV stage.
that's a good question. That's a
It is a
good
good
call. That's actually a really good call.
I'd like to see
Ooh,
Buddy Strong pick up the
trivia
guitar
time.
now and get him up from behind the
Yes.
keys and start playing up next to Dave as he's ripping a solo on What Would You Say or something like that.
Oh, that would be
It is
epic.
decided. We must get Buddy Strong on the keytar. That has to. We have to. Groundswell starts now. Okay, folks in Guilford and Camden. Well, this won't really come out, I guess, before Guilford, but Camden especially. We need the Buddy on the keytar chants and signs. Maybe it'll happen at the Gorge.
You think the Buddy chants are loud now? You just wait till you get him with a keytar running around
Oh
stage.
my
Exactly.
gosh.
He'll be
People's
running
faces will
around.
start melting.
He'll be running around with Corey Wong on the stage out at Gorge. What is it, night 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be an epic duel.
Yes. All right. So some nice stuff there at Pine Knob. I feel like they get sneaky good shows. Uh, Before that, got to give a quick shout out to Alanis Morissette and Clint
Oh,
Wells. Yes, friend of the pod, Clint Wells, playing with Morgan Wade, opened for Joan Jett and Alanis Morissette on this tour, and I got to see them in Raleigh, and it was wonderful. Clint is just a champion human being and guitar player,
hmm
and I was waiting for Dave to come out and play Spoon with Alanis, but he did not. And I was chanting for Spoon, but she didn't play it. Very disappointing. Maybe one day she will guest on Spoon with DMB, but it's never happened. So, all right, there's the update there. A lot of shows collectively that we've seen in the last like May through July. You didn't stop there though, Alex, after Alpine. No, you marched forward. You went to Deer Creek for the Creek End. How many Creek Ends have you enjoyed, and how does this one rank?
This was a pretty good creek end. I am not sure how many times I've been there. Let me see if I can pull
Oh,
that up quick. Well, anyway,
fancy lad.
being in Nashville, here we go. 15 shows at Creek End. I've had a couple years where I've just gone and
wow.
seen one. But it is within driving distance to Nashville, so it really is the closest 2-night stand to me these days.
Oh, wow.
And
How far is the drive?
I think it's only about, I want to say 4 hours maybe.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Okay. I
So it's
didn't
just a
realize that.
straight shot up. We had a couple cars and caravan. My cousin came with me. It was his, I think, fifth, sixth, and seventh show maybe. With this run that we did because we did it at Alpine too. But he we hit the road and drove up there on Friday morning for that first creek end, and I love Deer Creek. I think in with the absence of Alpine, Deer Creek has really done a good job filling those shoes for the Chicago market for everybody to go over there if they want to get away from Northerly Island. And it was just good being back. I skipped 2023. I did one show at Deer Creek in 2022. So it was cool to be back for the full weekend in 2024. And there's just something about Deer Creek. It might be the camping element of that venue, but when you get to Deer Creek, that place, you just feel it in Noblesville. You're driving up to the
Mm.
venue and you've got campgrounds on your left and on your right. And there's just something special about that place. You feel it as soon as you really, kind of get into the proper venue area, which includes the
Hmm.
campgrounds. Um, just really good vibes out there. And just like the other shows, went in at doors with Warehouse and hustled up to the lawn. It is the best lawn in the country. I stand by it. I know a lot of others stand by that too. There's an
Wow.
entrance in the back of Deer Creek, and Warehouse fills in, you get your spot on the lawn, and as soon as the public doors open and everybody who's at that back door floods into the venue, that lawn is completely full within 15 minutes. Not a
Oh
single
my
place to
gosh.
stand. It is cutthroat up there. Everyone's pretty nice, but it is cutthroat to get a good spot on the lawn at Deer Creek. Never seen anything
Huh.
like it. Once we got situated, I went to concessions and picked up a beer there. And as I'm walking back, the lawn was completely filled, and the pavilion had nobody in it. It was I had never
What?
really paid that close attention before, but that moment was something I'll never forget. Um, I went up there for Farm Aid too, and it was the same deal where there was just not a square foot of lawn space to stand on. And
What?
I just there's something in the grass at Deer Creek.
Hmm.
Really special spot to go see a show. People who don't like the lawn, avoid the lawn at all costs, they'll go up to the lawn
Hmm.
at Deer Creek and have a great time there. So when have you guys been to Deer Creek before?
No.
Okay.
No, never.
Add that one to
What
your
do you
list too.
yeah, I know the Almanac guys love,
Oh yeah.
going there.
Who?
What do you think makes the lawn so special there? Like, what is it?
They've got There are some aisles. So it's not just like one big lawn. It's kind of divided up into sections. So it's really easy to
Mhm.
navigate. Um, there's no there's no front rail. It's just steps that go
Mm,
down. So again, it's just an easy lawn to navigate. Um,
mm,
the sound up there, I don't know if it's because the venue was sponsored by Klipsch at one point, but the sound there, I think Sweetwater's up there too. So maybe they just have some really good speakers at Deer Creek. The sound on that lawn is truly perfect. And
wow.
I'm just trying to think of what else is good about it. It's not that steep. I think it's a pretty appropriate slope. You can see pretty easily. It's good people. You get along with your neighbors pretty well at Deer Creek, I feel. And one thing about the venue, just because of where it's located, the sun doesn't set at Deer Creek until like 9:30, and so you go through, almost two
Oh,
thirds of the show with the sun still up and the sun setting. So that just kind of goes back onto why the lawn is easy to navigate. You can leave and come back, and your spot's going to be there with your friends, and it's easy to find your friends because the sun's up. You're not trying to find a landmark to navigate your way back to your spot. You can just see them from a mile
mhm.
away and kind of weave your way back through. So it's an incredible spot to see a show up on that lawn. And I've done the pit there, I've done pavilion there, and at this point, I think I'm gonna do the lawn every time from now on.
Wow.
The
Wow.
lawn.
Yeah.
Wow. Freaking lawn rat. I love it. I love it. That sounds like such a cool place, though. I mean, we've heard a lot about Deer Creek. My dad and brother have been there, but that was to see Dead and Company, so
Mm.
not
Mm.
DMB. And that was a while ago. But yeah, it's just another one of those Midwest venues that um, has so much lore and history, and we've unfortunately never been. But we should have gone this year because night one started off with name of the podcast, Gray Street,
Mm.
third verse included, obviously. Number 41, ooh, nice little start there with idea of you tour debut. Do you remember tour debut? And Dave also remembered to play to Pantala Nagapampa next, and segue into something even more awesome than he had done all year, which is Seek Up right here in the 5 or 6 hole if you count PNP. Warehouse, Madman's Eyes, You Never Know. Dancing Nancy's. Ooh, that was a little interesting. Warehouse, Nancy's Separate. I love that.
Mm.
Black and Bluebird. Rapunzel Midset. Hands of God. American Baby intro. Break Free. We've got some Segway City happening going on in there. And then Sledgehammer. No, thank you. Say Goodbye tour debut. You and Me tour debut, which, I mean, Satellite and You and Me making their tour debuts
Shocking.
very late in the summer is shocking. Breaking news. We need to cut into regular programming to tell you about that. And Ants Marching to close out the set. Baby Blue in the E1 spot again. And then You Might Die Trying right here on
Mm.
the beer. You Might Die Trying to close. Replace two-step on the set. And people were
Ooh.
convinced that there was a two-step tease before Die Trying with some
Mm.
noodling of the chords, which I'm sure it was. And then Dave gave you all the middle finger and said, you know what? You might die trying.
He said,
But night one, Deer Creek, Alex, take us through some of your highlights. How was the opening to the show? I like it.
I love it. I mean, that Gray Street, I don't know if I'd seen a Gray Street opener before, but I know it was getting a few plays opening shows in Europe. So I don't know if y'all play like the Ants setlist game, but I kept putting Gray Street as an opener for the first like 5 shows of the tour. And eventually I'm like, it's not gonna happen. I think they've just put that one back in the can, and then lo and behold, Deer Creek opened up with Gray Street. It's really a perfect way to open up a show. Especially now, with that
oh,
third verse still sticking around in the song. It's such a better song now than it was when that verse was gone. It's just night and day how I feel about it now. And again, to kick off the
yes.
weekend with that was a cool moment. Um, 41, you can never go wrong with an early 41, especially like on a night one. I think it just kind of helps set the tone for the whole weekend. It's a song everybody loves. You're back in your happy place, and you're hearing songs that are familiar with, and then to get a tour debut, Idea of You, one of again Fenway '06, one of the albums I listened to a ton when I was getting into the band. So that Idea of You is one that always sticks out to me. So anytime I can hear that song, I'm a happy guy. And getting the tour debut of Idea of You there was really, I mean, awesome. And then, do
You're
you
probably
remember?
thinking Squirm right there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good
Oh, that's
point.
true.
Red
So yeah, I
guitar
mean,
comes out.
everyone's screaming shotgun. Everyone thinks it's going to be Squirm, and then it winds up being Idea of You. That's a really good point. So really, a nice surprise there, getting Idea of You early on in this show, and then it kind of just keeps rolling on.
Yeah. I think, I mean, those were ones you probably weren't weren't expecting at all. The first half of the show, maybe, and then Pantala Nagapampa, like you said, song of the summer, and then they go into probably, I mean, the coolest, most unexpected surprise in Seek Up. What was the reaction? And I mean, it's just another monster. Seek Up, 21
I
minutes, just about.
Yeah, I posted a video on my TikTok. It's been fun to like film the Pantala reactions when it happens, but this one is by far my favorite Pantala segue we've seen.
Yes.
They just absolutely nailed that segue, and I don't know, it just everybody that I'm around just jaw on the floor as Seek Up starts, and it's a killer Seek Up too. I mean, I'm looking at it now. It's 20 minutes, 55 seconds, so a super long Seek Up there.
Hmm.
And for a tour debut after that segue, it's a perfect moment. And I hope that they bring that segue back. I don't think it's happened since this moment, but it's by far, I think, the best segue we've seen of all the Pontalas, because I don't know what they were doing backstage, but they really rehearsed that well and just nailed it to a T. Worth if anybody's not listened to that tape, that segue is definitely one of the, I don't know, summer tour 2024 greatest hits. That's going to be on that playlist.
Oh, so like Concerts on the Corner, which may
Oh,
come
yeah.
later on this year, best of summer 2024. And yes, that is right now the leader in the clubhouse for segues likely. And it's so funny because it's just the end of PNP, and then it's just Dave that goes right into Seek Up. It's just about timing, right?
Yeah.
We've talked
Mhm.
about it on the pod a couple times, just about Dave's timing, being a little off maybe, and just like maybe hesitating, or he just is waiting to get his bearings, and that's completely understandable. I've never played music in front of like 10 people, much less tens of thousands. So completely understandable, Dave. But this was, I don't know, it was just something about it. It was so perfect, so good. And like pretty much every Seek Up over the past 2 years at least, or 2 or 3 years, it's incredible. Every single
Mhm.
member shines, and yeah, just freaking fantastic.
Yep. I mean, if you look as
Oh,
we
yeah.
move through the set, there's a lot of tour standard stuff, but an awesome, mid set. You never know. Black and Bluebird. I know some people that were at the show that were hoping to hear that one. It's not the best version of the song, but I know that people were excited to catch that one. There's that Rapunzel kind of just sneaking in there mid set. And then I had not actually, up until this show, heard a full Line in the Hands of God into a full American Baby intro. So that was something that I was personally chasing. Nice to catch that at
Oh,
Deer Creek. And then I don't know, that takes us to the back half of the set with some more tour debuts. Say Goodbye tour debut that late in the set too. Give It to Me All Day Long. That is as good as it gets. Huge surprise there. You and Me and then Ants. I kind of we were talking about Space Bread earlier. You and Me and the Ants reminded me of like every other set in 2016 where those songs were just kind of getting played back to back. But
yep.
yeah, really, really strong main set. Baby Blue is a perfect E1, and then
Mhm.
we all heard the noodling of two step, and we were all about to lose our minds. I think a friend of mine was getting ready to tackle me, and then it goes into You Might Die Trying, and
Oh,
yeah, you could feel the balloon deflate a little bit. And I was talking with the Almanac guys, or a friend of mine was too. He was saying that it was not a two step tease because it was like the chords from the Radio City two step. It wasn't, what they consider to be like a traditional two step chord. So I
All right,
don't
that's
know.
enough. Get off your high horse. I'm going to listen to it. We're going to dunk on them. That's it. That's
come on,
enough.
Rob.
Also, I would roll my eyes that You Might Die Trying at that point, but I love that song. That song gets too much like hate, and it can't. And people say like
I
it shouldn't
know.
be a closer. I actually disagree, and I think the song is badass. And I don't know why, even when I see it pop up on a set, and even when it starts, sometimes like, oh man, it
I know.
it's freaking awesome.
I'm
That
with
song,
you.
that song rocks.
I don't need, a monstrous E2 or E3 moment if it's a night one. Like You Might Die Trying to send me
Yeah.
home before I'm back the next day. That's all good. So it's a really great set, and I think if you look at the paper set list and once you saw what songs were cut, that I think rustled some feathers a little bit. But I mean,
Yeah.
leaving that venue in the moment, we were thrilled at what we had gotten that night one, and we're ready for some night two.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, I think because it got, like, just played to death from '05 to 2010, it was just like, "Oh my gosh, again?" And it wasn't what it was, now. Like, back then, it was not great, and, I mean, it's a monster now. So, yeah, I think, it probably gets an unfair rap, but when you find out it got, Two Step got cut, and they play that instead, and then What You Are got cut as well
Yep,
from that show,
yep.
um, for, what was that?
It was
Replaced with
ants.
Ants, I
Ants,
think.
so,
Yeah.
not terrible, but, yeah, that's tough, but, I mean, that's a good night one. Really, really solid, and kudos to Dave for just kinda keeping it going, like, from last year to this year, and, I mean, throughout this summer, keeping everyone on their toes. That's my favorite part about going to a show, setlist watching, and all of that, is just being surprised. All right, night 2. You got a little bit of redemption with Two Step, but let's walk through this whole set. What would you say opener? Love it. Crash Into Me, Bartender, strong, strong. Old Dirt Hill, Spoon, Squirm, Crush, Ocean and the Butterfly, She tour debut, Grace is Gone, Monsters, Let's Dance, Stolen Away, Triplets, Kill the Preacher, YM, Two Step, and then encore, Just Breathe, So Damn Lucky. All right, Alex, highlights. What did you love? What did you maybe not like? How was night 2 compared to night 1?
Night one was a little bit better. I stand by that. I think the guys that I were with, they would stand by it too. The
Mhm.
front half of this set is awesome. I mean, what would you say is a pretty cool opener? I think it was like one of the band's first singles, so kind of a cool treat to see that one open. Crash Into Me, weirdly a rare song. I had not heard it in full band, at least. I'd not heard it in, I think, 41 shows or something like that. So
Whoa.
cool to hear
Wow.
Crash Into Me again. Bartender early on in the set is something
Mm.
that is always going to be a highlight for me. And then I'll skip over Dirt Hill and just go straight to Spoon. I mean, Spoon is one of the band's best songs. It's one of the band's best studio cuts. There's so many people chasing that song, and so getting it at a destination venue, there's people somewhere in there that are probably completing before these crowded streets catching a song like that. So kind of a monumental moment there in the venue. I love Squirm.
Yes.
Crush is ever so consistent. So just an awesome 7 song run to kick off this show, and then we get to Ocean and the Butterfly, and personally speaking, it kind of turns into a little bit of a sleeper. We left to go use the bathroom and get some drinks during Ocean. I don't think we came back until Monsters, and it just didn't really feel like we were missing too much. Um, the set itself just kind of runs through with nothing that interests me too much until we get to Two Step, and that's just my personal take. I'd be interested to hear what you guys like about this set. If there's anything I'm skipping.
No, I think you nailed it. YM tour debut, that's another song I was shocked that, like, this late into the tour, hadn't been played.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it gets a little I feel like the flow maybe is a little up and down in this set, but they definitely pick it up with from So Much to Say
Yeah,
on, till the end. How was, So Damn Lucky as a show closer for you?
I don't mind So Damn Lucky as a show closer. I feel like I'm in the minority with that one. I actually prefer it as a closer more than mid set if they're going to do that long thank you run.
Mm,
Buddy actually took it a little bit further than they normally would with that outro, and it might be the Alpine guy in me, but thank you at Alpine is always special, and so getting on So Damn Lucky at least to close out the night is kind of a nice way to leave the show. Getting Two
mm.
Step as the main set closer was kind of the big surprise because I think everybody thought that it was going to be the E2 slot. So I think that I was probably hoping for a little bit better song to close us out, but I was okay with So Damn Lucky. I think a part of that too is we had Alpine the next day. So it was just kind of like you might die trying ending E1 or night 1. You're like, okay, like we're back tomorrow. Let's do it again.
I was kind of wondering that.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
did you guys, or did it ever cross your mind, hey, Alpine's tomorrow night, we may not get X, Y, and Z, or they may not blow it out of the water because they have to reserve some in the tank.
Yeah, getting a set like this, I mean, obviously catching Spoon at Deer Creek is incredible. Bartender at Deer Creek is incredible. But there was definitely something in the back of your mind that's like, well, if this song is getting played tonight, does that take it off the table for tomorrow? And people were definitely, keeping track of things. And I imagine there were
Hmm.
going to be a few repeats at Alpine that happened during the Deer Creek weekend. But I think that it was definitely on everybody's mind. And people that couldn't make Deer Creek were also keeping tabs on things. I know there was a lot of songs, that were on the table that if they got played at Deer Creek, you might not catch at Alpine. Um, So definitely something that we were, keeping an eye on. But again, getting another show the next day, I felt pretty good about what this show was, at least from the first half, and then kind of how it rounded out at the end.
Love it. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And then everyone's got to get on the road, including the band, to make that. What's the drive time over from Deer Creek to Alpine?
I want to say it was 4.5 hours, but and you got an hour back because you were going back into Central Time.
Okay, not so
Huh.
not too terrible, but it's
Mm,
I mean, after a couple shows in a row, that's putting in the work. That's for sure.
yeah.
Okay, excellent. So we've got Alpine Night Two, Part Two, June 30th, just a couple weeks ago here. If we run through the set really quickly, I've actually, you know what? I believe it's Alex's turn to run through the set again. Go ahead, my man.
All right. So we get opening the show with "Hello Again" tour debut, only the third time ever. Then we get JTR, "Fool in the Rain," "Virginia in the Rain," "Spoon," "Madman's Eyes." Pig in the 7 slot, "Lie in the Hands of God," segueing into American Baby intro, and then an aborted Space Between, followed by the full song of Space Between, Let's Dance, Looking for a Vein, You Might Die Trying, Satellite, Will It Go Round in Circles, Warehouse, Gravedigger, Gray Street, All Along the Watchtower to close out the main set, with an E1 of Just Breathe and Ants Marching. Oh, just kidding. We're faking into Halloween.
Oh,
Oh, a
so much good
long
in there.
ants fake too. A long
That's
ants
right.
fake. I want to hear about that. But all right, dude. I mean, y'all are back. You're back at Alpine. I think the weather was much better, much cooler, and everything. Everything seemed to be very good. You've got the DMB's production manager. I think Anthony Giordano's birthday, and he was the one that, if anyone's seen the picture of the guy in the king costume on stage pre-show, that was him, which is freaking hilarious.
Very funny.
So yeah, lead us into the show. What was everybody talking about? Was it kind of empty? Was it pretty full? What was everything like for this second go around?
It's funny, having a few Alpine shows like under my belt and then going to basically 3 Alpine shows in the span of a week. There was a lot to kind of take in and compare to the other days. So we got into the lot like right at 3 o'clock, so we didn't pay that $20. And where we got parked, you could tell that it was either A, going to be empty, or B, people were just taking their time get into the parking lot because we had no business getting parked where we were parked. We were way too close to like the beginning of the parking lot for coming in at 3. Where we were parked is normally like a 130 type of spot. So I thought that was
Hmm.
interesting. Everyone's talking about JTR. It's in play after getting played earlier in the tour. It's the rain song. Everybody wants to hear that JTR opener. So that was definitely taking up, I think, a majority of kind of the lot talk was just, well, are we going to get JTR? Are we going to get repeats from Deer Creek? What's going on there? Getting in line, I went in with the warehouse group for all of these Alpine shows, and similar to where we got parked, there was nobody in the warehouse line. I was a little shocked and concerned, thinking this venue is only going to be like 25% full, just based on how many people were there at that point. And they let us in. We just got a good spot, like at the front of the lawn, with a pretty big group, and thankfully, it filled up. I will say that I was pleasantly surprised to see how many seats were filled and how full the lawn looked from where I was. Because at doors, I would have told you this place is going to be nothing but empty seats and open grass. So it was nice to see it filled up. It seems like people turned out, and at least whether they papered the house from the lawn or not, I don't know, but it looked good by the time the band took the stage. And seeing Anthony come out in the King getup was cool. I thought that maybe in the moment it was because he had like saved the equipment from the storm and he was the king of Alpine Valley. That was my initial thought because I'm sure that he was putting in a lot of work when we had that
Hmm.
rain out. Um, but it was a cool way to kick off the show, and then we can dive into the set, opening up with "Hello Again." Like I said, the third time of all time. That's a song that, if you're just walking around the parking lots, people are thinking, "What's going to open tonight?" Somebody always says, "Oh, it's night two of Deer Creek. They're going to open with Hello Again." And come to find out, it was only the third time ever. It's shocking to me, but it's a fitting opener. It's a tour debut, really strong start, and then to get JTR in that two slot, that is exactly what we need.
That's a perfect way to start that show. And Hello Again openers. That's the first since May 9th, 2005, the stand-up release show, album release show at Roseland Ballroom. The first Hello Again opener, also at Alpine. That is Live Tracks 8, August 7th, 2004.
It's
Uh,
awesome.
awesome. I love that release as well with the Rick James Super Freak in there. It's oh, all time. But yeah, you get Hello Again, JTR in the two slot, and the JTR kicks off a little rain theme. JTR, Virginia in the Rain, Fool in the Rain. Uh, was there anything said by Dave? Was he laughing? Was anyone laughing on stage? With was there a reaction? What was going on with the rain theme?
Being on the lawn, it was hard to pick up on some of the interactions between band members, but
Mm.
just knowing lyrics to songs and listening to what Dave or the lyrics Dave is singing, you're like, oh, we're getting this rain theme right now. So yeah, JTR, Fool in the Rain, Virginia in the Rain, that's right there in the song titles. And then Spoon has references to lightning and thunder. Madman's has the
Mm-hmm.
lightning
Mm.
graphic that's behind the band.
Yes.
Pig has some rain lyrics there. So that's your first 7 songs, kind of all sticking with the theme. And it was cool to just kind of be there. There's been rain shows in the past where the band has done those rain songs, but I feel like they were sprinkled throughout the show. This was just one after another, after another, after another, and it felt pretty rewarding. Like making the trek Deer Creek to Alpine. Anybody that maybe didn't go to Deer Creek and just came back to Alpine Night 2, we were definitely rewarded early on with just that run of songs. It felt the band felt I felt that the band was very just obviously they're aware of the scenario, but it was just nice to see them acknowledge it.
It is
That is
really
nice.
cool. I love the themes. Theme shows are awesome. Theme sets, or at least segments of sets.
Mm-hmm.
So, Hands of God, American Baby intro coming up next, and then Space Between, which gets abandoned there with Dave starting it on that baritone, but then switches back to the sixth string to the and I'm guessing that it's the raised B, like he has
Yep.
played on it in the past. And I don't know what happened. Do you have any idea what happened? Do you recall being like, "Oh, something was wrong there"? What was going on?
It was basically just he didn't like the way it sounded. Maybe the guitar was out of tune. Maybe it was coming through his in-ears in a weird way, but I that's another song that I was chasing Space Between with the baritone. And so finally getting
Oh,
it was a moment and it sounded so good coming through to me. I could tell it was a little off to be honest, but I was like, I don't care. I've been wanting this. It's happening. And yeah, he probably I can't remember how far he took the song, but yeah, he swapped it out for the raised B and it was kind of back to what I was familiar with. And I was
oh
just kind of like punching the
no,
air that I'd missed it.
no.
But I'm kind of on record saying this, but if I never get Space Between with the baritone, I'm happy that I got that just blip on the radar of what Space Between with the baritone could be because it sounded as full as I thought it would sound, like actually experiencing it in person. And I hope that the raised B will go away and the baritone will come back. But if it doesn't, I'm glad I
Oh,
got that like first verse.
I'm so pissed. Like I'm pissed because this seems to be a catalyst to one of those things. And Dave makes these decisions sometimes when something goes wrong, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, not playing that song for 10 years now. Or,
Yep.
just something. Well, the last time they played Space Between, he was also on the Raise B. And I'm
Yep.
worried that baritone guitar may get kicked to the curb. And I don't know what needs to happen. I don't know if someone, needs to draw a picture of the baritone guitar and be like, play it. But that's unfortunate. And I hate that for you. But yeah, I hope
Yeah.
that, at least you got that, because I think both, I don't know if either of us have seen it um on baritone. I haven't, and I've been wanting that for a long time. I like the acoustic version a while ago, but it's time. It's full. It's beautiful. Do it.
Yeah. It hit different more than I thought it would. I didn't think that I would have kind of the reaction that I did when I got with that baritone, but I was absolutely amped. And when it went away, like I understood why, and I took it for what it is. But I'll tell you, that baritone guitar in Space Between is, like, bar none, like the best way to hear that song. Just from the tease that I got, I can tell you that.
It's
So
like the
hopefully
Agreed.
it
opposite of
comes back.
playing it's the opposite of playing Samurai Cop on the electric guitar on that one. That one sounds awful, and he needs
God.
to play the raise B on it. And then this one sounds just amazing, and don't play the raise B. But
Yeah,
anywho.
And I saw the Raise B Dave Solo E1 in
that's
Raleigh,
cool.
which was I would take that over full band Raised B. Got to go
Oh, I
baritone.
didn't know that.
I don't think I've seen the baritone with that either. Unfortunate.
Damn it.
Crossing my fingers
What are
that
we
it comes
doing?
back, but I'm with you. It is something that might just have gone away now, and we'll see what happens once
Yeah.
we get to the upcoming shows this week.
All right. Satellite gets its second play of the tour. Goes into Will It Go Round in Circles tour debut, which they messed around with a little bit. How was that? Because I know the Dave and Friends version, and then um, played it a handful of times recently. What are your thoughts on that as a cover?
It was a nice surprise. It was also swapped out from the paper set list. I think it was supposed to be, what would you say? And they opted to go
Mm,
Will It, oh no, it was the maker, and then they swapped it out for Will It Go Round in Circles. So I was actually
mm,
okay with that swap because
mm.
I'd never heard it before, and
Yeah.
nice to just hear something new. It was the only like new song I heard for those three shows, so I was happy to kind of
Mm,
check that box. And tour debut, thought it was gone, kind of like Cheap
yeah.
Sunglasses, like that hasn't gotten played yet. And Will It Go
Oh
Round in
man.
Circles coming back and for the summer tour was kind of cool. I was happy to hear that. Warehouse with the Woos, Stop Time intro there at Alpine Valley, like you can't go wrong with it. That's a lot of people, wooing
Mm,
out there. And tour debut of Gravedigger, kind of a surprise to catch that one. Um, but I was fine with the tour debut of Gravedigger, to be honest.
yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. What?
It's
All right.
it's I was gonna say
Go
that
ahead.
that song's actually like, come a long way for me. Like a song that maybe I
Hmm.
didn't want to hear all that much, 10 years ago. It's now kind of
Yeah,
found just a better place in the catalog for me.
I definitely agree with that sentiment. Yeah, then you get basically several show closers in a row: Gray Street, Watchtower, and then Just Breathe again. Ants Marching Fake into Halloween tour debut, first time in 61 shows. What was the crowd reaction to this? Did you think it was going to end with ants? Were you, in fact, faked out?
I was 100% faked out. And I'm singing along to Dave's scat just like as anybody would. And I look back at my cousin. We kind of had this inside joke for the weekend, which was, Dave doing the scat on Ants Marching and then, doing his like 1, 2, buckle my shoe, and then it launches into the full, horns and drums and everything. And it was at that moment that point where they did the fake, and so I turn around to my cousin and I say, just 1, 2, buckle my shoe, and then it does not launch into Ants March, and it launches straight into Halloween, and I was completely floored. I think most of the venue was. Catching that song now is a real treat, and it's definitely like landed its spot in the band's catalog as something that they'll only pull out when they're ready to treat an audience. It doesn't seem like to be terribly random. It usually comes with a purpose. So catching Halloween to close out a 3-day run, Deer Creek into Alpine, everybody coming back for Alpine night 2 or Alpine night 3, whatever you want to call it, was just a perfect end cap to that 3 days. Never miss a Sunday show, as they say, and this Alpine night definitely held true.
Hell yes. Pretty awesome. That was a cool Ants fake in the Halloween. I was convinced that it was just standard Ants, and there you go. I love that. Anything that's different is awesome. Pretty standard. A little bit, and I don't know how you guys felt at the show. A little bit strange to get 5 total cover songs for the show. I don't know if you noticed that, if that was something where like, wow, man, we've had a lot of covers tonight. But that was something that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I didn't notice in the moment. Just Breathe is a good E1, and Watchtower is just classic DMB. So those two kind of, cancel out, if you want to call it that. We'll Go Round in Circles, I was excited for because I'd never heard it. So now you're down from 5 to 2 cover songs that I actually took note of. So I was happy overall. And yeah, just a really incredible Alpine night. Everybody left happy.
Can't argue with that. That's awesome. And then hopefully everyone got back safely, because now it's time for SPAC. And if anyone knows anything about SPAC, it's that they get extremely mediocre shows and it's not very notable whatsoever, ever. So we could probably just skip over those, honestly. I'm not even interested. But right
Yeah.
after July 4th, so we've got Friday, July 5th over in Saratoga. And the band returns for their annual SPAC weekend. Night 1, obviously Friday night concert series there on Sirius, starts off with Song of the Summer, Pantala Nagapapa into Warehouse. That's pretty sick. Then Nancy's Seek Up. Then tour debut of Seven, tour debut of Fool to Think. Interesting. Spoon, Grace is Gone, Let's Dance Again. JTR, Monsters, Triplets. Digging a Ditch is a cool down. Crush, late set. Come On, very rare this tour. Typical, Why I Am, and then encore of Just Breathe, So Damn Lucky. So a repeat, I guess, of the previous show, Alpine Valley. Close over there with Just Breathe. Wait. So Damn Lucky, Just Breathe. That was somewhere else. Okay, I'm just rambling here.
Creek.
Yeah, Creek, okay, whatever. But yeah, night one. Geez, I almost said Alpine. This is a long episode. Night 1 of SPAC. This is the third of the 3 big venues in a row. Alex, set the scene for night 1 for Saratoga and the show overall here.
This was my second time at SPAC. I went last year for the first time, so definitely a rookie in my time at SPAC. But every time I'm there, I'm always just taken aback by how loud that inner pavilion is. I don't know if it's because of the balcony and it just kind of like echoing off the stage and coming back. I don't know what is going on at SPAC, but it is so loud in there, and you feel it. Just a really strong, knowledgeable piece of the fan base there, and you can just feel it the moment the band walks on the stage. So getting Pontala to open was cool. Into Warehouse, obviously we had just gotten Warehouse at Alpine, so I wasn't terribly surprised by that one. Not like I was for the Seek Up, but it's still a really great way to start the show. And then getting into Dancing Nancy's, usually those songs are flipped. So catching Warehouse into Nancy's is kind of uncommon. And then Seek Up, your first real kind of jam of the night, was a good way to kick off a SPAC weekend. Seven as a tour debut, it's fine. It's a tour debut. It's just
I think not what folks would expect to catch at SPAC, but Fool to Think definitely is. That's an awesome song to hear. And again, I know Marcus O'Neill with Concert Vids 34, that was a song he was chasing. He had been at shows before where that song had been cut off sets. And so I knew he was thrilled to catch that song. Again, early on in a SPAC weekend, there's not much more you can ask for catching like a Fool to Think tour debut. But then we get Spoon, and this is a really nice run. This was the third straight Spoon. If you attended Deer Creek Night 2, Alpine reschedule, and then SPAC Night 1, it's 3 straight Spoons in 3 shows. And that's
Oh my
just an
gosh.
insane stat that I think if you told anybody that any point in the band's history, they would think you're crazy and there's no way. And lo and behold, all 3 of those kind of powerhouse venues got a Spoon. So congrats to
Absurd.
anybody who completed before these crowded streets over those 3 weekends. Really
Amazing.
incredible stuff.
I have a question for you. How did you have the energy to travel to SPAC after the Alpine and Deer Creek extravaganza?
It was a 48-hour recharge.
Mm.
I got back on Monday, took Monday off from work, just kind of went into the office, went through the motions Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, and then caught not an early flight on, what would that have been, Thursday for night 0. So I think everybody that had done the run, it was kind of just like, again, I call it the hat trick. You kind of knew at that point everybody who had done all 3 weekends, and you would just be like walking around the downtown, or you'd be walking around the kind of tailgate scene at SPAC, and you would just see people that you could tell had done all of them. I think everybody was hurting a little bit. I know I told you that I'd lost my voice coming back from SPAC last week, so it all kind of started for me, I think, on Saturday, where I just completely was feeling that go. But man, it was a lot of fun to do all 3 of those big venues, and you just powered through it, 1 hour at a time, 15 minutes at a time, if it came to it.
Oh man, that makes me tired just thinking about it. But hey, I mean, you went and you got 3 Spoons in a row and a couple of JTRs and some nice stuff sprinkled in here. I saw some, I don't know, gripes or murmurs that like, oh, maybe SPAC wasn't the best this weekend, but I mean, or this year, but really got some great stuff. You got Fool to Think, Spoon, Grace, JTR, Crush, Coco into Typical. I mean, that Coco. That doesn't happen. I mean, those are big time, all in the same set. That's huge. What for you was the highlight from night 1?
I love this set personally. I probably liked it more than some others, just because for my personal taste and which songs I like more than others, this set just kind of it continued to land in that sense. So, I mean, Fool to Think, Grace is Gone, obviously JTR and Spoon in there, but like even Digging a Ditch is a song that I personally, like more than others. Come On is a song that off of Come Tomorrow I like more than others. And Typical Situation, you just can't go wrong with Typical anywhere in the set. That song always elevates when it gets played. And I was texting a buddy when Why I Am started, and I'm like, yeah, give me that Roy reference to close out the show. Like it was just a really well crafted set list. And again, just personally speaking, a good song selection, so it stood out. The encore was a little mediocre coming out of Deer Creek. Not was what I was expecting, especially for what kind of expectations you have for SPAC. But like I said with Deer Creek night 1, it's just like, well, I've got a second night, so if that's what's gonna lead me into a fresh set the next day, I was fine with walking out with So Damn Lucky.
Yeah, I mean, like you guys have said, solid overall show. Obviously, highlight of the night, the Rarity Let's Dance. Huge, huge for SPAC to get that. You just weren't expecting that, and that was way out of left field for the tour. Heading into night two, I think it's just 2024. We've been fairly spoiled with D&B set lists, to be honest, and I think it's been one of their stronger tours in the past decade plus, maybe even going on 15 plus years and beyond. But regardless, you see a set like that, and then you roll into night two, and you can still have like high expectations. You still have, things that they can bring out. You had Spoon, the Pantala into Warehouse, and you had Spoon, you had JTR, and I feel like the sentiment is mostly just kind of like, yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. It's just absurd. If we would have had that in the last couple of years, my god, dude, this is absurd. Night two, there's no way. But going into SPAC, it's like night two is going to crush night one. I mean, it's not even close. This is just going to be sick. And so, rolling into night two, what were you maybe potentially hoping for? You've done all of these shows in a row. Was there anything really left on the table where you were like, man, I've done the hat trick here? I'd be disappointed if I didn't get this out of these 3 major venues, 6 total shows.
So I think the talk of the town was just, the word was liberation. What song, if any, is going to be liberated SPAC night 2? And every person you talk to was just hoping that, my personal chase now is Kit Kat Jam. Give me that Kit Kat Jam at SPAC night 2. Like, that just seemed fitting. Kind of in the same way that ABI made its liberation last year. I think everybody kind of had that expectation that there was going to be something. Yeah. But that's where the bar was set for night 2 of SPAC, unfortunately. Incredible night 1. Going into night 2, everyone who went to these big venues, no liberation at Alpine, no liberation at Deer Creek. Oh, well, this next liberation has to come at SPAC, right? And I think if there was anything that set night 2 up for failure, it was the fact that everybody was going and hoping for that liberation. And obviously, if you look at the set list, there is not a liberation there. You get 3 tour debuts. We can run through the set, but no liberation. So I know, me personally, that was something I wanted. And after doing all of these shows, not getting it hurt just a little bit. And that's just getting greedy. But that was definitely the talk amongst the fans going into night 2.
And was Kit Kat Jam really the one, or were there other ones that you had in mind that was like, that's acceptable?
I think Kit Kat Jam is a lot of people's number one chase right now. We're 11 years removed from that song. And
are we?
I think another one that's getting tossed around right now is Alligator Pie is on a lot of folks' lists too. I forget what show it was, but some kid, a little kid, had a sign on the rail at another show that had an Alligator Pie sign, and Dave said he was gonna, work on it, maybe put it back in rotation. So just, again, walking around the lots and the bars, that was 2 songs that I kind of kept hearing people mention.
Are you
chasing? Dave's a liar.
Yeah, he is a liar. Are you chasing any other songs personally?
My 3 big chases right now would be like Kit Kat Jam, When I'm Weary, and I've never heard Kill the King. I know those are like odd choices, but when it comes to like being a completionist, those are kind of that I'm hoping for right now. Oh, the other one being
that's awesome.
If I Had It All. I've never heard If I Had It
All.
Oh.
I was looking at liberation lists, and they're on there. Nolan and I sit on our high horse over Kit Kat Jam because we saw the last 2 versions of Kit Kat Jam, and I've seen the last 3 versions of Kit Kat Jam, which is just stupid. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, this, we have the monopoly on recent Kit Kat Jams, but we've been screaming about that song for a while. Like, that song it oozes this lineup with this band. It makes 0 sense why they're not doing it, and it's ridiculous. So we're right there with you.
The fan base is ready for it. I know through Buddy being on
Yep.
Sirius XM, I guess he said he's ready for it. So I'd like to
Oh,
be just a
Who
matter
said
of
this?
time. I think Buddy said
Buddy?
that. Yeah, like he's listened to it and he wants to get a crack at it.
Yes, that's what we said. Like, Buddy would be. I'm Dave.
He'd crush
what are
it.
you doing, dude? I'm mad. I'm mad. I don't even want to talk about SPAC Night 2 anymore.
I know. I don't want to rain on your parade more, but we've also seen the GOAT version of If I Had It All. So I'm sorry.
With Lawler.
Lawler.
Yes.
That's what I get.
That's right. So Pantala Nagapampa into Minarets open. Let's talk about the repeat openers, kind of.
Yeah, I bet no one was talking about that.
Yeah, it caught me off guard. I was walking back, or I was walking to my seats, like as the band came on, and I just let time kind of slip away from me, and I wasn't.
Ain't it funny?
I was really surprised when Pantala kicks up again. Song of the Summer, back-to-back plays at SPAC, and going into Minarets was pretty cool. Yeah, no real notes on it. Just I think it caught me by surprise, and I was excited to get another random song generator out of Pantala Nagapampa.
Yes,
so good.
What if they would have gone in the warehouse? Would you have just been like, "All right, Groundhog Day, I'm out of here"?
I think that anybody who had expectations for SPAC would have been relatively disappointed.
Yeah,
that would have been awesome.
The Boo Birds.
Okay, wait, I have a stat. Pantala openers back to back. First time the same song has opened consecutive shows at the same venue since September 1st and 2nd, 2007. That was at the Gorge. Can you guess the song?
I can.
I have no idea.
Bruce?
A Dream So Real.
Okay.
The Troll opener song by Dave. Just classic Dave. I don't remember who it was that told him like something they didn't like that song, or that song should never like. Oh, I don't know what it was, and Dave was just like, "Okay, well, I'm opening half of the shows of the tour with it," and just thought it was hilarious. At least that was one of the stories I was told. You know what? I would welcome a Dream So Real opener. Do it again, Dave. That'd be hilarious.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
it would be awesome. Buddy would crush it on piano. Anywho, I'll scroll through the set here. I think we forgot that part. We're so deep into this. We're doing it. Pantala into Minarets. Repeat Pantala. That's unacceptable, Dave. The Best of What's Around. Big Eyed Fish. Fool in the Rain. Proudest Monkey and Satellite. Fake. This time, will it go round in circles? Rapunzel. Here it is, mid-set again. Where are you going when the world ends? No one knows where you're going when the world ends. You never know exactly. What would you say? No idea. But Rhyme and Reason, Lover Laid Down, Madman's Eyes, 41, Don't Drink, Bayou, and The Last Stop. First time ever played as a set closer, which I could have sworn that stat was wrong. I saw it multiple times on social media. I saw it even on Almanac, and I was like, I don't believe you. That's no way. It's not possible. It had to have closed the show. A set. And yeah, I know. It's just not possible. Baby Blue Ants to close out SPAC. So let's go back. All right, we had the repeat sort of opener into Minarets. And then we roll with Best of What's Around and Big Eyed Fish right there. Really strong opening. How are y'all feeling?
I think it's great. I mean, Best What's Around, favorite song, catching that one at SPAC. It's a moment you'll never forget. Big Eyed Fish. It's just a song that early on in a set list, I think a lot of people are kind of hoping to hear, and it's relatively rare. So one of those like set the tone songs that, really helps elevate set lists into the next like third of the show. Fool in the Rain is, it's really not one of my favorite songs right now. I feel like I've caught it a ton. It says here I've seen it 7 times, so maybe not as many as it seems, but Proudest Monkey is my dad's favorite song, so shout out Greg Brandt on that one. So I was happy to hear that one. I definitely caught a video of it and sent it his way so he could kind of live through his son.
Love that.
Satellite Fake, then after Proudest Monkey is really cool. That's one that, I think everybody's ready to hit the bathroom once that Proudest Monkey song ends, and to fake out into the Will Go Round in Circles was kind of a fun moment. I didn't catch anybody like running back to their seats or anything, but I'm sure there were a few people out there.
Quick question. I've only been to SPAC once, and it was 12 years ago. Are the only bathrooms, if you're in the pavilion, if you're underneath the covered area, do you have to go all the way out above the lawn and then back up across, right? Or are there bathrooms side?
There are, so it would be stage right, house left. You can go all
Okay.
the way down a staircase where you'll find like concessions and then like an actual building where there are restrooms there.
Hmm. I
The
never saw
line,
that then.
at least for the men's room, it moved pretty quick. I hustled over there at one point in the show, and but we were I forget what section we were in, but we were stage left. So when I left to go use the bathroom, I had to hustle from one part of the building all the way across to the other.
Yeah.
And it was honestly fine, but yeah, that's the only other space if you don't go all the way to the back of the lawn.
It was a hike. I remember getting to that, and I was like, man, if you do leave, you are tempting fate. There ain't no, from what I remembered at least, ins and outs. But enough of the bathroom reviews. Mid set here with Where Are You Going and When the World Ends with the Where Are You Going tour debut. I feel like that's kind of a New York State and kind of a SPAC staple. Where Are You Going pops up there, and then You Never Know, What Would You Say tour debut. Oh, well, the What Would You Say, by the way, sorry, with Sam Kenninger on sax. How was that? I've not heard this one yet. How was that?
Honestly, I think I was still kind of coming down from like You Never Know.
Yeah.
I don't feel that What Would You Say like stood out by any means, but again, I'm curious to listen back to it too, and maybe I can prove myself wrong. But it was a fine version. Getting that late into the set, I don't really remember it standing out, to be honest.
Yeah. That's his song. He's guessed it on it, I think 5 times.
Okay.
And I remember looking it up because I was like, oh man, I feel like I've seen this before pop up. But yeah, so he's been on that a couple of times. But that's a nice run with You Never Know, What Would You Say, and Rhyme and Reason tour debut. I just cannot believe that song is just barely played these days. It just seems like every single year it gets less than a handful of plays, and everyone gets excited when it shows up. But yeah, that's pretty awesome that it showed up there.
Kind of cool I love Joe Lawler. I just think the last probably 3 times I've heard Rhyme and Reason, Joe Lawler's been on it. So I was definitely just taking note, like, oh, this is a Rhyme and Reason with just the current lineup of the band.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 64 shows since the last time it was played. That is a nice grouping of songs, and I feel like the Cool Down with Love or Lay Down, and then Madman's 41, Don't Drink the Water, Bayou, Last Stop, and then Ants to close it out. That's probably it's not the best like set on paper, I guess, but I don't know. That's a lot of energy there to wrap up the weekend. I feel like they they play the hell out of those songs, especially Don't Drink, Bayou, and Last Stop.
Yeah, those are really 3 strong songs to kind of wrap up with. I know I was talking about Bayou as a closer. I like it much better as that second to last song of the main set.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's the prelude to Last Stop, which
yeah,
so obviously first time played as a set closer. I'm very partial to this version. I think that it's extremely good. Maybe I may give it the nod for best of the summer tour so far. What did you think? I've heard, special, this is definitely the best one they've played in over a decade. All of this kind of stuff thrown out about this version. Did it strike you as that? Have you listened to it since? And then you've seen multiple this year. What has been your favorite?
I think I have not listened back to this Last Stop yet. I think as a set closer, again, it is a perfect song to close out a main set. And maybe it's kind of the SPAC effect for this last stop, but there was something just in the air as that song was playing out. Um, I think a lot of people were hoping to catch Last Stop at SPAC this year. I'm really glad it happened. I'm excited to listen back to the tape once it finally has dropped, if it hasn't already. It wasn't really so much for me like, oh, this is the best Last Stop I've ever heard. This is the best Last Stop of the summer. But it was more just a feeling of how the room felt as that last stop was playing out, and that's kind of what, I'm glad to hear people are thinking it's one of the best of the summer, if not the best of the summer. When I do listen back to it, I'm going to definitely keep that in mind. But I mean, the room was just absolutely electric once that song kicked up.
I can't imagine. I mean, it's just, they've played so many good versions this year that it's just one of those where it's like, I mean, who gives a shit what the best version of them are? They've just all been so good. As long as they're full and as long as they're playing it, I mean, then my heart's full. And this one, Carter just seemed to be giving it a little bit extra oomph. He's been kind of like pushing that outro where Dave has almost been trying to force back into like the standard Last Stop outro, and Carter's just like, I don't think so, dude. We haven't played a full Last Stop in years, and we're doing it, and I'm doing it. And so he's been kind of conducting it, and it was awesome. But yeah, so wrapping up SPAC, wrapping up your trifecta here, the hat trick, if you will. Did you throw a hat on stage at the end of this? What was the feeling and overall from Alpine, Creek End, and SPAC? What were the best? What's the best? What's the best venue? What's the best shows? Go ahead, stoke the flames. We need to debate.
Here I am. I am partial to Alpine. I will say that I think of all of the shows, I'll pick one from kind of each of the weekends. I really enjoyed Alpine Night 2. I really enjoyed Deer Creek Night 1, and I really enjoyed SPAC Night 1. Those three were kind of the standouts for me. Again, I think the liberation factor of Night 2 SPAC I let that kind of bleed into my thoughts about the night, maybe more than I should have let it. But the summers, we're still rolling on. There's still hope for a big liberation before we get to the Gorge. Maybe we'll get one at the Gorge. So those three shows really stood out to me as my top favorites from the hat trick.
No, you will not get a liberation at the Gorge until the Corner Gray Street podcast is back in attendance at the Gorge, in which the entire weekend will consist of the entire liberation list. Good answer. So what I heard out of that is SPAC stinks, Alpine is awesome, and it rules and trumps everything that is SPAC. Sorry, SPACers.
Hey, SPAC Night 1 2023 is still a top 3 show for me, so it's there.
Wow. Okay, so all the friends I was trying to dunk on there, they're gonna come back and dunk on me. Okay, so if you do get, and we can't answer Kit Kat Jam here, if we do get one more liberation, if you do get one, I guess your next shows are the Gorge. Which one does it? And okay, you can't answer it if I had it all as well, because you already said that. Which one does it need to be? And you can pull up the almanac lists here if you need.
Kind of maybe an obscure answer. I'm sure there's people that would back me up on it, but Snow Outside is ready to shine.
Do it.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I've been listening to a lot of like 2-set 2014, 2015 shows lately, and Snow Outside is one I keep going back to. It's just time for that to happen.
I agree. That would be lovely. It needs to happen. Okay. You have a lot of awesome posters behind you. Did you snag any during this run? And if you did, what's your favorite one that you got?
Okay, I'm in like a total poster kick right now, where I've been buying them almost every show. But of the ones I picked up, Alpine Night 2, the Dan Mumford is. I don't know if I have wall space right now to put it up, but if I swap some out, that's definitely going on the wall.
That's a good
Ben
one.
Falk is on my personal Mount Rushmore for posters, and catching him at SPAC was a good one. I really enjoyed that one. I didn't love a lot of the Deer Creek posters, but I did pick up the Weekend poster. That's the first time I've bought a Weekend poster. That's the one that has the cardinal on it. I think it was a Ken Taylor. But if I had to pick two, it'd be that Dan Mumford as number one and the Ben Kwok as my number two.
Solid.
Love it.
Good choices. I'm glad you got those.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Mumford's a G, and I have a Kwok, but it's blurred out. It's a drive-in.
Oh, nice.
The West Palm drive-in with the jellyfish. It's blurred.
Right.
I'll try to see if I can blur my cam. But yeah, I like that. You do get a lot of those posters. I feel like you always post the pic, and it's there we go. Now I'm unblurred.
There it is.
But yeah,
good one.
Yeah, we had the Mumford triptych from Gorge in 2021, and I've got that. But it wasn't a full band weekend. But anywho,
do you have that one framed up anywhere?
No. And these are the three that I've framed and put up. Yeah, when you have limited wall space, it is not necessarily going to be conducive for concert posters. Oh,
here's Ben.
Yeah, the Wong one.
MSG, Night 2, Statue of Liberty.
It's so hard to see from right there, but it is such a good poster. I love that Wong had it, the shape behind him too.
That was so fun.
I need to get framed and put on the wall. I've kind of got a spot picked out for it. It's just going through the motions of framing it out and getting it up on the wall. Maybe saving a little bit of extra tour money to go put towards posters and frames. But that one will go on the wall eventually. That's an epic one.
Oh, yeah. I've got the one from Gorge. What night was it? Gorge Night 3/21 too, with the big cat.
Oh yeah, that's one Kwok
I one.
have. I was at that show. I think I just hung out at camp too long and missed it when I finally got into the venue.
You were at Gorge 21?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
So were we. Gosh.
I know. Somehow I missed you guys. I was gonna say that
Gorge is massive. It's a little,
I know.
Had I found you for Mr. Rustin Kelly's set while he tore a hole in the gorge, we could have had some good times up on the hill.
He was awesome. That was so good. If you're going this year, Corey is going to be awesome too.
Yeah, I'll definitely. I've been in a good habit of going in early this year. I've not always been in that habit going in at doors. So I'm definitely catching most of, if not all of the Gorge openers this year for sure.
Got to catch Corey. Yeah. He's one of one. He'll put on a great show.
Yeah, after we experienced at MSG last year, I can't wait to see what he can do at the Gorge.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. So you've been to, I think, all of the big venues, except maybe D&B at Red Rocks, for what it sounds like. What is your favorite venue? And you can't say Alpine because it's like your hometown thing, but just venue wise, if you could only go to one venue again, where would it be?
I'll throw a wild card out here. I had an incredible time at the Greek in Berkeley, California.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
That I went to the 2014 run, 3 nights, whole venue was GA. And looking back on, a lot of the weekends that I've done at these destination venues, that one always stands out to me. Not a bad seat in the house. The GA factor meant, you could get a big group of your friends together and not worry about, where everybody was sitting. You could all be together. And then that weekend specifically, getting 3 nights, just like the Gorge does, was truly just a great moment in the band's history as far as venues they've played and what they're doing on a given tour. That one stands out. So if they ever go back there, if they do 3 nights at the Greek, I'll probably choose the Greek over the Gorge just because of that experience I had 10 years ago now.
Oh, wow.
That's a top favorite for me.
That's awesome. Great answer. I was not
That's
expecting.
such a good answer. I've only seen the Greek from I drove by it and like could like look through and like stood right there at it. And that was cool. But yeah, that was God, it's hard to believe that was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy.
Live tracks though. So I don't know which number it was, but it was a live track.
Yeah, it was night 2. Probably the weakest of the 3, but it was my first live track. So I took it. There's a snow outside on that one, I think.
Nice. All right. Was there a song or performance that stood out during this most recent run for you that you were like, okay, that was worth the price of admission?
Yeah, I mean, worth the price of admission moments. That P&P Best What's Around stands out. The Halloween was a moment that, I've heard Halloween before, but that Halloween to me stands out as one of the better ones from recent years. JTR at Alpine just because of the rain moment, and then Fool to Think at SPAC Night 1. I love Fool to Think, and I don't ever expect to hear it when I'm at a show. So catching the tour debut, that stands out too. Really, really, really strong moment from the hat trick.
That's awesome. Job well done. Kudos to you for just trudging through, and you were all over the place to see these shows and the unexpected weather and man,
Yeah,
a memorable summer for you.
it definitely has been. Back to Alpine for a second. Now that I'm based out of Nashville, I've flown to Milwaukee the last couple times that the band's played Alpine, and getting the opportunity to take my car from Nashville to Noblesville to East Troy or Elkhorn was truly something I never thought I'd get to do again. Just because I'm so used to flying into Milwaukee and getting picked up by the old group. So taking my car on that road trip is honestly something I didn't think I'd get to do this summer, and something I really, really just cherished as I got to drive up there and drive back. Something about having your car like at that venue. It just reminds me of the college days, I guess. But I wasn't expecting to get to do that. It's definitely a highlight for me. That's not necessarily show related.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
That's some of the best stuff right there, though. Yeah. That is some of the best. I mean, you are not wrong. So jealous. But alas, we chose to procreate, and we get to do none of these things. So yeah, in case anyone needs birth control, that's one of them. Alex, you're the man, and we really appreciate you hopping on for multiple hours of this podcast, probably one of the longer ones in this show's history. But it was well worth it. We've been off for several weeks, for basically a full month, and the people have just been clamoring for it. I mean, just left and right. They've been wanting to hear from us so bad that they basically stopped responding to us. They send us no messages anymore. They're just like, we've given up on you. But Alex is bringing us like a phoenix coming out of the ashes. We are back, and I'm so appreciative that you came on and offered us up all of that. But like we said before, we are going to end this episode with a little bit of goose talk. And that's how we're going to round it out. Nolan, we had some goose news that was pretty damn awesome, and potentially awesome for every single person on this podcast currently. Why don't you let the people know what we're looking forward to much later in the year? Because, well, again, we had children and we can't go see DMB anymore.
Yeah, but we can go see Goose. I don't know how that works, but it does. Goose fall tour, big fall tour. After a jam-packed June, we're taking some time off, and hopefully we'll get some updates about a new album. But Goose fall tour, we are going to hit some of those shows. Wondering if DMB is going to have one. It's been swirling. Perhaps, maybe they will. But Goose, finally, Bruce, coming to your neck of the woods, St. Augustine, and then Alex and I will be at Goosemas in Charleston.
Oh, yeah.
Woo! It's going to be a wonderful fall Goose tour. Bruce, initial thoughts. Also, Jay just announced New Year's Eve in Austin. So
a formal affair. I can't wait to see them in their cute tuxedos in Austin, Texas.
They're the best.
That was so awesome. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Cannot believe they're coming to St. Augustine finally for a couple nights. I'm so excited by that. That's like D&B playing at Daly's Place. It's further away down in St. Aug, but that venue is one of my favorites in the entire country. And I mean, I would love to see Dave and Tim there. D&B, they can come there. I don't care. But Goose there, oh my, yes, please. And we'll see if I wind up going to the shows, but I have bought tickets. There may be just the tiniest of dilemmas to keep me from that. We shall see. And also, I would love to join you fellas in Goosemas or at Goosemas in Charleston. We'll just have to see about that too. We're talking about it over here at the Woodall household, and that will just be a later in the year decision. But yeah, just so excited to see these guys grow, continue. I mean, the June here last month was one of the best months in their band history, selling out venues like Forest Hills, selling out the Man, I believe in Philly, or getting close to it, playing in front of one of the biggest crowds. I mean, it's, the trajectory has been awesome, especially with, some of the uncertainty heading into this year. They were firing on all cylinders in June, and they've got a ton of shows the rest of this year. So if you all are just Goose curious at all, go check them out, and you
will not be disappointed.
You will not, and this podcast will continue to devolve into that D&B and Goose podcast because, well, we're nerds and we're obsessed and we can't help it. But Alex, you've seen a couple of Goose shows, and you're going to Goosemas, so hopefully you're pumped for that, man.
Oh yeah, I am. I'll catch them in Nashville at Ascend Amphitheater, and then I'll head over to Goosemas. So getting 3 shows of this Goose Fall tour in, and I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen them since last April, so I'm overdue. Well over a year now since I've seen them.
Nolan, you've been to Ascend.
I saw Dave and Tim there in 2017. That is a wonderful venue. Were you there, Alex?
I made it to night 2. I actually had to be at a wedding night 1 for Ascend.
Was it a fun wedding?
Yeah, it was great. It was in the hills of Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh,
nice.
It's probably better than the show, to be honest.
All right. Well, I'll make my way out to the gorge. But if we don't hang out there, we'll just hang out at Goosemas.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing
you'll be there.
We'll get some Goose chat
for sure.
going. I think they do have more merch, don't they? So I can snag a poster early and then hang the rest of the time.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us. I'm glad we could finally make it work and recap this incredible run for you and the band. We'll have you on again soon. You passed the test with flying colors. A wonderful contributor and friend of the podcast.
Yeah, man, it's been good to get kind of the podcast jitters out. Long form is definitely different than the TikTok world. So I'm glad to finally have that out of my system.
Oh, you crushed it. And we will see you next time on the corner of Gray Street.
Osiris.